If anxiety is holding you back, then you've come to the right place. Because in this video, I'm going to share with you a strategy that I use with my private clients to annihilate their anxiety so that they can get the unstoppable confidence to go after what they truly want. Hey, it's Byron Morrison here, and welcome to the Fulfilled Life Project. So a core part of what I do in my Reignite method is helping people annihilate their anxiety, doubts, and fears so they can reach that next level of their life. And that's why in this video I want to share with you a strategy that I use with all of my private clients to annihilate their anxiety so that they can get the unstoppable confidence to go after what they really want. First things first though, if you're new here, make sure you hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so that you don't miss any future videos. Before we get to the strategy though, I firstly want to take a moment to talk to you about why you're actually struggling with anxiety in the first place, because it's far easier to fix something when you understand why it's an issue. Because the reality is, running a business and working at the top can be a roller coaster ride of emotions, where one moment you're on top of the world and the next you're falling apart. And when you combine that with the huge amount of pressure, the stress, the rising expectations, for a lot of people, that can push them to their absolute limit. And all of this can push you into the self-destructive cycle where you procrastinate, you overthink, doubt yourself and get held back by fear. All of these negative feelings and emotions continue to manifest to the point that you have all of these external side effects where you struggle making decisions, you don't show up as your best, you don't lead your team properly, or you avoid the tasks that you know have to be done, like meeting new people, going to events, or putting yourself out there. We've all been there where that voice in our head holds us back and stops us from going after what we really want. But the biggest problem of all is we continue to sabotage our own success by avoiding what's actually going on. Because how many times have you convinced yourself that the reason why you're struggling or stuck is maybe you need a new strategy, maybe something in your marketing's broken, maybe you need a new funnel. We keep convincing ourselves of all of these external forces that something's missing, overlooking and hiding from the fact that the problem is actually within ourselves. You see, the reason why we get anxious is we're focusing on the future and a perceived outcome that we're predicting based on the story in our head. We convince ourselves what's going to happen when the reality is there's no way to predict the outcome of our actions, and that's why that story in your head, it isn't real. It's your past conditioning sabotaging your future success, allowing your beliefs and what's happened in the past to create some story in your head and convincing you that that's the way that life has to be. And the biggest problem of all is because we believe that story in our head, it keeps us trapped in this heightened state where inevitably our emotions, our thoughts and decisions lead us down this path where the actions that we unconsciously take land up in a self-fulfilling prophecy where we ensure that that story becomes real. And from there we get stuck in this negative thought feedback loop, going round and round in circles, doing it over and over again. So what can be done about that? Well, what we really need to do is break that negative thought loop by interrupting the patterns that cause you to act on impulse and shifting your focus. So the next time you start feeling anxious and all of that negative energy is building up inside you, what I want you to do is stop, take a deep breath, and I want you to ask yourself, what are you feeling anxious about? What specifically is making you anxious? What are you afraid of? Like, why is this fear taking over? And once you've had that honest conversation with yourself and you've honed in on what it is, I want you to shift it. Really stop to ask yourself, what happens if it goes right? Shift your focus from everything that could go wrong to what happens when you actually succeed, when you follow through, when you get these amazing results, when you put yourself out there and you face your fears. What then? Really start painting a positive picture in your head, and Then from there, ask yourself, even if that doesn't happen, is it really the end of the world like you're building up in your head? The second part is so essential because so often when we get anxious, we go into this heightened state where we convince ourselves that we're going to fail, the world's going to fall apart, everyone's going to judge us or laugh at us. We build up this story, completely blowing it out of proportion, all because we haven't taken the time to stop and really process the outcome. And that's why, to break these negative thought loops, we need to interrupt the patterns and stop you from acting on impulse. Because so often when we get anxious, we become overwhelmed and make in-the-moment decisions that later when we look back, we think we would have handled differently. And that's why, by really taking the time to stop, to process all of the information and coming to an outcome, you can really make a decision based on what needs to be done. Such a vital part of that, though, is your breathing, because when you go into this heightened state and all of this negative energy builds up, your brain becomes foggy, you lose your focus, and in times like that, there's no possible way that you can think clearly or make the right choices. And that's why, by stopping to breathe, to calm down, to slow your blood pressure, that's how you can start thinking clearer. And from there, you can really focus on what's happening and make the best decision from there. And that might even mean removing yourself from the environment or the situation so you can calm and ease your nerves and make a decision from there. And I'll give you a perfect example of this in action. I had a client come to me who, even though he had a successful business, after various challenges and setbacks, he became stuck. He landed up in this downward spiral where he lost his confidence, he doubted himself and was being held back by fear. And all of these negative thoughts and emotions led to intense anxiety and questioning his self-worth, where he avoided doing the things that he knew he needed to do in order to grow his business. The biggest one being going to networking events. And because of that, he was buying into the story in his head that if he attended those events, everyone would be judging him. He was constantly focusing on the worst case scenarios and this make-believe outcome about how he was going to crumble and fall apart and everything was going to come crashing down. And that's why he became so anxious and overwhelmed. So because of that, we really need to shift his focus from everything that could go wrong to everything that could go right. What happens when he goes in, he's confident, he's in control, he meets new people, and he shows them how amazing he truly is. So what we got him to do, the first networking event that he was back, rather than being overwhelmed and going straight into the room, he went to the bathroom, found a quiet cubicle, and took a few minutes to stop, close his eyes, and breathe, allowing him to reduce that anxious state, slow his heart rate, and ease those tensions. And from there, he could play out the story in his head, shifting the focus from everything that could go wrong to everything that could go right, really thinking about who he needed to show up as and what he wanted to achieve. By doing that, he was able to walk into the room, present himself confidently and clearly. He met some amazing connections. He even got asked to come back the next week and be the keynote speaker, going from someone who was so anxious about how people were going to feel about him to showing how amazing he truly was and being the center of attention. And from there, he's grown his business. He's gone down a new path, found a passion, and the next month, he earned £22,000 in 18 days, all by facing that fear, tackling it head on, and shifting his focus. And that just goes to show how truly powerful this simple strategy is, by just taking the time to stop, break the habit of acting on impulse, and really refocus questioning that story in your head. And if you want to find out more about that client and the journey he went on and the challenges he overcame, in the description of this video, I'll put a link to his story where he shares everything that happened. So there you have it, a really simple tool and process you can use to overcome anxiety. One really important thing to remember though is this is just a tool, and if you really want to annihilate that anxiety and reverse the thoughts and stories in your head for good, then we have to get to the root cause of the problem. We really need to understand what's happened in your life that's playing out this story in your head that is pushing you into this heightened state. Getting into that, though, is out of the realm of what we're covering in this video, but if you do want to really find out how to get to that root cause and break away from it, then make sure you check out my free masterclass in the link in the description of this video, where I'm going to share with you my 4-step reignite method to show you what it really takes to level up your way of thinking, to get that unstoppable confidence, to reach that next level of your life. And like I said, you can watch it for free and on demand using the link in the description. So I'd love to know your thoughts and feedback on this video. Let me know in the comments below, and also let me know, how are you going to use this strategy? What areas of your life are you currently feeling anxious, and what's it holding you back from going after? If you haven't already, also make sure you hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so that you don't miss future videos like this one. I'm Byron Morrison, author of the book Become a Better You, and always remember, you only get one life and one chance, so make it count.